On his 23rd International Apostolic Voyage, Pope Benedict visits Mexico and Cuba. Here's your host, Alicia Ambrosio.
Hello and welcome to our coverage of Pope Benedict XVI's visit to Mexico and Cuba. It's going to be 6 days of Mexican, Latin American flavor, and we will bring you every moment of it. Pope Benedict has just landed in Guanajuato, Mexico. It's central Mexico. The region is called Guanajuato. The closest city is León, Mexico, and he will be celebrating Mass there during his trip. Now, we have been hearing reports from on board the papal plane that Pope Benedict did indeed hold a press conference on board that flight, and we'll get more details about that press conference in just a few moments. We will be speaking with Francis Roca, the bureau chief, the Rome bureau chief for Catholic News Service, who was on board the papal flight and took the 14-hour flight with the Holy Father from Rome to Guanajuato. And he will tell us more about what they spoke about, what the Holy Father said about this trip during that flight. Now, this is not Pope Benedict's first trip to Latin America. It is his first voyage to Mexico as Pope. He was here earlier while he was still Cardinal Ratzinger. He was here to give talks. It is his second papal voyage to Latin America. He visited Brazil in 2007, and he is visiting Mexico and Cuba on this historic voyage. You're seeing pictures now from Guanajuato, Mexico, from the tarmac of Guanajuato Airport. The Mexican military honor guard lining up on the red carpet to welcome the Holy Father. And we've seen the stairs have already been pushed up to the door of this Alitalia plane. So any moment now, the door of the plane will be opening and we will be seeing Pope Benedict. Mexico is, as many people know, a largely Catholic country, and this particular region, the Guanajuato region, is about 94% Mexican. Catholicism is one of the major religions. The other major religions in Mexico are also Christian. Evangelical and Protestant churches have an increasing presence, and there's also still a percentage of the population that holds to traditional native animist type religions, but this region is 94% Catholic. And Pope Benedict saying on board the papal flight that he is coming to Mexico not only to confirm Mexicans in their faith, but also to witness to the struggles in Mexico. Of course, drug violence being one of the things that has marked this country over the last few years. And the door of the plane is being opened. The chief of protocol will be the first to come down and prepare the red carpet. Any moment now, we will be seeing Pope Benedict appear at the door. They're just securing the stairs to make sure that everything is firmly in place. As is customary, the pilot and co-pilot will be on hand at the exit to the plane to greet Pope Benedict and to wish him a pleasant onward journey. We have been hearing from the crowd that's gathered at the airport, we've already been hearing chants, in particular one chant, which is Benedicto hermano, ya eres mexicano, which translated means, Benedict, brother, you are Mexican. The Mexican people greeting him warmly. We just saw one of the Mexican bishops boarding the plane along with the chief of protocol. There will be a number of Mexican prelates on hand here at the airport. We see now Felipe Calderon, the President of Mexico, greeting children who are waiting to present Pope Benedict with flowers. As mentioned, we will see several prelates. I believe we just saw Christophe Pierre, the Apostolic Nuncio to Mexico, board the papal flight. He is traditionally the first person to greet the Holy Father. The Nuncio to the nation that the Pope is visiting generally boards the flight first, greets the Holy Father, and together they exit. We will also see Cardinal Norberto Rivera Carrera, the Archbishop of Mexico City. He is considered the primate of Mexico. And of course, we will also see the local Archbishop. And there he is! Pope Benedict has arrived in Mexico. He is greeting the Mexican people. Let's listen in to the cheers of joy. Giving his signature wave. Pope Benedict is descending from the plane with relative ease. This morning when he boarded the flight in Rome, he was using a cane. He has used that before, and there was a bit of fuss over that, but he is without the cane here, greeting President Felipe Calderon and his wife. Greeting the local Archbishop, Jose Guadalupe Rabago, the Archbishop of León. And Archbishop Carlos Retes. 3 Mexican children are presenting the Holy Father with a small gift. We had been told it would be flowers, but it seems to be a small case with some other sort of gifts. I'm sure we'll get more details on that very quickly. Pope Benedict takes a moment to speak to the 4 Mexican children on the red carpet to greet him. The Holy Father and President Calderon will make their way down the tarmac, and we expect to hear a brief speech from both the President, Felipe Calderon, and from Pope Benedict, as is customary at the welcome ceremonies. We will also hear the national anthems of both Vatican City State and Mexico. And in the background you can hear the cheers. Benedicto, Benedicto. There's a few different cheers that are being used here. The main one, of course, being Benedict, brother, you are Mexican. Holy Father inspects the honor guard, the guard of honor. And they continue towards the podium, where we will hear the official welcome speeches and the national anthems. We do hope to speak with Francis Rocca, CNS Rome Bureau Chief, who is with the Vatican Press Corps on board the papal flight. We're just waiting for the journalists to disembark. It is 32 degrees today in CELAM, which is the area where the airport is located. This area is about 2,000 meters above sea level, so a mountainous area, fairly dry. Pope Benedict is not going to Mexico City. because of the elevation. The Vatican did say earlier this week that doctors advised that because of his age, it was better to stay at lower altitudes. So he will be staying in Guanajuato and León and the surrounding regions.
Damos inicio a la ceremonia oficial de bienvenida de su Santidad Benedicto XVI.
The announcer is saying that the official welcome ceremony will begin. The Mexican national anthem. That was the Mexican national anthem. We will now hear the Vatican national anthem. We just heard the Vatican national anthem.
Sean tan amables de ocupar sus lugares.
Escuchemos al ciudadano Felipe Calderon Hinojosa.
We will now hear President Felipe Calderon give his welcoming address to Pope Benedict.
Su Santidad Benedicto XVI, muy distinguidos integrantes de la comitiva que le acompaña.
He greets Pope
Señor
Benedict
senador
and
José
his
González Morfín,
entourage.
presidente del Senado de la República. Señor diputado Guadalupe Acosta Naranjo, presidente de la Cámara de Diputados.
He's
Señor
greeting the
ministro
various
Aguirre Anguiano,
members of parliament and
representante de la
politicians who
Suprema
are
Corte
present
de
here.
Justicia de la Nación. Señor licenciado Juan Manuel Oliva Ramírez, gobernador de Guanajuato. Señores gobernadores de las distintas entidades federativas de la República Mexicana. Muy queridas niñas, muy queridos niños, distinguidos invitados especiales, señoras y señores de los medios de comunicación,
A special greeting
señores
to the children
cardenales,
present,
arzobispos y obispos,
invited guests, members of the media,
mexicanas y mexicanos.
bishops, and Mexicans.
Bienvenido a México, su santidad Benedicto XVI.
Welcome to Mexico,
Es una gran
Your
alegría
Holiness.
recibirlo en tierra mexicana.
It is a great joy to welcome you on Mexican soil. And the crowd starts chanting, Benedicto, Benedicto, which is Benedict in Spanish.
Al pueblo mexicano,
The
al pueblo
Mexican
mexicano
people
le regocija que haya usted aceptado la invitación
is
que en su
grateful that
nombre
you accepted the
tuve el honor de
invitation
formularle como presidente de la
that I
República
was able to
mi
extend
visita
to
de
you
Estado al Vaticano.
as President of the Republic.
La presencia de su santidad entre nosotros
Your presence among us
adquiere un significado enorme en horas aciagas,
has an enormous
momentos
significance,
en que nuestra patria atraviesa por situaciones
especially
difíciles
given
y
the
decisivas.
moments that our
Son muchos los
people,
desafíos
that our nation is
que a los
facing.
mexicanos nos ha tocado enfrentar en los últimos tiempos.
We have
Lo
had to
recibe
deal
su
with many
santidad,
difficulties
Un
lately.
pueblo que ha sufrido mucho por
This is
diversas
a
razones
nation that has
y que a
suffered,
pesar de ello hace enormes esfuerzos todos los días
but despite
para llevar el
that,
alimento a la mesa de la casa, para
the
educar a
Mexican
los hijos,
people, many
para
Mexican
sacar
people, despite the
adelante
difficulties,
a la
make
familia.
enormous efforts to feed their families.
México sufrió, por ejemplo, como pocos países, los efectos de la crisis económica
Mexico
internacional,
suffered the
la más
effects
profunda
of
que
the
hayan
global
visto las
economic
generaciones
crisis,
actuales en el mundo.
the most profound
México
crisis that our
también ha
world has
sufrido,
seen
su santidad lo
in
sabe,
many years,
la violencia despiadada y descarnada de los delincuentes.
the
El
nation
crimen
has also
organizado
suffered
inflige
violence
sufrimiento a nuestro
inflicted
pueblo
by delinquents.
y muestra hoy un siniestro rostro de maldad como nunca antes. En los últimos años, su santidad
The
también
nation
hemos
has
sufrido
seen the
sequías
face of evil
e
like never
inundaciones
before.
sin precedentes, fruto del daño irracional que los seres humanos hemos hecho a la naturaleza, además de epidemias y terremotos.
And has suffered natural
No sé si estos
disasters
desafíos hubieran
and the
sido
consequences
capaces
of
de
the-
quebrantar la voluntad y la firmeza de otros
of
pueblos,
what the people have done to the
pero a pesar
environment.
de todo, México está de pie,
But despite
de
these
pie
challenges,
porque los mexicanos
Mexico
somos un
is on
pueblo
its
fuerte,
feet because Mexico is a strong nation.
está de pie porque los mexicanos somos un pueblo fuerte,
Mexico is on its
perseverante
feet because
en la
Mexicans are a
esperanza,
strong
en
people
la solidaridad,
standing
que somos un pueblo
in hope.
que tiene valores y principios,
We are a nation
que
that
cree en
has
la familia,
values and principles,
en la libertad, en la justicia,
freedom, liberty,
en la democracia
justice,
y en el amor a los demás.
democracy,
En valores que son fuertes como la roca.
values that are
Y es por ello
strong
que
as
su
a rock.
visita nos llena de alegría en momentos
Your
de
visit
gran tribulación.
fills us with joy at a
Puedo
time of great
asegurarle,
tribulation.
Su Santidad,
I can assure
que
you, Your
encontrará en
Holiness,
el mexicano a un pueblo noble, hospitalario,
that this
cálido,
nation
alegre,
is a
que
noble
tiene en altísima
and
estima
welcoming nation.
al sumo pontífice. Las mexicanas y los mexicanos compartimos con su santidad el
share
anhelo
with
de
Your Holiness
justicia y de paz
a
duradera.
desire for justice.
Buscamos todos los días labrar nuestro camino hacia el bien común de nuestra querida nación,
We work together
de
every
manera
day
que
for
sea
the greater
posible el
good
desarrollo
of this
integral y
nation,
humano de nuestros hijos.
to make
Trabajamos
possible
con
the
entrega y
development of this
dedicación
nation for the good of our
para
children,
labrar un mejor futuro a nuestras familias,
and to be
para que
able to
nuestros
give a
hijos
better
puedan
future
ser felices
to our
y
families,
se conviertan
so our children
en
can be
mujeres
happy
y hombres de bien
and
y de
become
paz.
men and women of good and
Luchamos
peace.
cada día
We
para
fight
darle a
every
nuestras
day
familias
to give our
las
families
condiciones de seguridad y de vida digna y pacífica
the
que les
conditions of
permitan
security
desarrollarse plenamente.
and peace
Nos
that will allow them
esforzamos
to develop
con ahínco
fully.
para superar problemas como la pobreza y la desigualdad y para generar
We
mejores
work together to
oportunidades de
overcome
educación
problems of
y salud
poverty
para todos.
and inequality.
Yo sé que su visita a su santidad alentará el esfuerzo de los
I know
mexicanos
that your visit
y reconfortará
will
su alma.
elevate,
Su visita,
will reinforce the
particularmente
strength
en
of the
estas
Mexican people.
circunstancias, es un gesto de solidaridad
This visit
y
is
de
a gesture
fraternidad con nuestro
of
pueblo.
solidarity and
que nunca
fraternity
olvidaremos.
with our people, with our nation,
Sabemos que es
that we will
usted un
never
hombre de
forget.
sólido pensamiento,
We know that you are a man of
en las
solid
ideas,
thought,
valores y creencias
firm
que
in your
comparte
values
una buena parte
and
del
beliefs,
pueblo mexicano.
which you
Sé que
share
serán
with the
también
Mexican
las suyas
nation.
palabras de consuelo y de inspiración para quienes las necesitan
You
y
bring
renovará
words of
la
consolation
esperanza en
and
millones
reinforcement
de
to
hogares de
those
México.
who need it.
Su santidad,
Your Holiness,
México se siente muy honrado por ser
Mexico
la
is
primera
honored
nación de habla hispana que usted
to be the
visita
first
en el continente
Spanish-speaking
americano.
nation you visit on this continent. Your crowd is chanting,
En
Benedicto hermano. Ya eres mexicano.
En nuestro país vivimos más de 93 millones de católicos,
There are
además
more
de los
than
muchos que se han
93
ido a los Estados Unidos
million Catholics
en
in this
búsqueda de un
nation,
futuro mejor para sus
many of
familias.
whom have crossed to the
y a quienes
United States
extrañamos
searching for a
profundamente.
better future for their families.
Somos el segundo país con más católicos
We
en
are
todo el mundo.
the second nation with the
Alado.
most Catholics. We are the second most Catholic nation in all the world.
Al lado de experiencias también desgarradoras,
We have
en
had
México ha quedado imborrable la huella de
difficult
pastores que
experiences
vinieron a nuestra tierra e impregnaron al pueblo de México del más elevado sentido de amor al prójimo y en particular a los indígenas.
and people have
Recordamos
tried,
con afecto
people from outside have tried to take away
como Fray
the
Bartolomé de
sense
las
of
Casas,
love for neighbor
al obispo
that is
Vasco
so
de Quiroga,
entrenched in our native peoples.
como cariñosamente le llamaron los purépechas, a Fray Jacobo Daciano y a muchos otros. Y más recientemente en nuestros días recibimos en su tiempo a su santidad Juan Pablo II y hoy lo recibimos a usted
But the nation has
con los
overcome
brazos
that,
abiertos.
and many people have tried to help this nation return to the values it holds dear. most recently being Pope John Paul II when he came to visit.
Su presencia constituye un hito del mayor significado porque refleja una nueva época en los vínculos entre México y el Estado
Your visit
Vaticano.
shows a new era of ties between Mexico and the Holy See.
Con pleno respeto a la libertad de culto, a la pluralidad política, a la pluralidad religiosa, a la pluralidad ideológica que es posible en un Estado laico como el que
Felipe Calderon outlining the values, the Christian values that are possible in a secular or lay state.
Con el corazón en la mano y con los brazos abiertos como los mexicanos sabemos hacerlo.
We welcome you, therefore, with our hearts open and our arms open, as Mexicans so uniquely know how to welcome people.
Ilumine el alma de las mujeres y de los hombres de esta tierra, en particular de quienes más sufren. Con la profundidad de su pensamiento,
may your words illumine the hearts and minds of men and women of this country.
Y sé que encontrará, como siempre, a un pueblo noble, hospitalario y cálido.
You will find, as always, a noble and welcoming nation. We hope you will be able to absorb the love that the Mexican people offer you during this visit.
Su Santidad,
Your Holiness,
a nombre del pueblo y
in
del
the name
gobierno de México,
of the people
le
and the
reitero
government of Mexico,
nuestra alegre bienvenida y le agradezco enormemente
I give you our
su
warmest
presencia.
welcome,
Gracias
and I
por
thank
estar
you
en México.
enormously for
Le
your
auguro
presence.
que esta será una estancia
And I
dichosa
wish-
en nuestro país. Bienvenido sea.
And I wish you the best of stays in our country. Welcome.
Hace uso de la palabra Su Santidad Benedicto XVI.
Pope Benedict will now take the podium and address the crowd with his own words.
Excelentísimo señor Presidente de la República, señores cardenales,
Dear Mr. President, Your Eminences, dear brother bishops and priests, distinguished civil authorities, beloved people of Guanajuato and of Mexico,
me siento muy feliz de estar aquí.
I am very happy to be here, and I give thanks to God for allowing me to realize the desire kept in my heart for a long time to confirm in the faith the people of God of this great nation in their own land. The affection of the Mexican people for the successor of Peter, whom they always remember in their prayers, is well known. I say this here, considered to be the geographical center of your land, which my venerable predecessor, Blessed John Paul II, wanted to visit during his first apostolic journey. Although he was not able to come on that occasion, he left a message of encouragement while flying over its airspace. I am happy to repeat his words here on land among you. I am grateful, he said in his message, to the faithful of El Bajío and Guanajuato for your affection towards the Pope and your faithfulness to the Lord. May God be with you always. With this in mind, I offer my thanks to you, Mr. President, for your warm welcome, and I respectfully greet your wife and the rest of the civil authorities who have honored me by their presence. I offer a special greeting to the Most Reverend José Guadalupe Martín Rabago, Archbishop of León, and the Most Reverend Carlos Aguilar Retes, Archbishop of Tlalnepantla, and the President of the Mexican Episcopal Conference and the Latin American Episcopal Council. With this brief visit, I wish to greet all Mexicans and to include all the nations and peoples of Latin America, represented here by many bishops. Our meeting in this place, where the majestic monument to Christ the King on Mount Cubilete gives testimony to the deep roots of the Catholic faith among the Mexican people, who receive his constant blessings in all their vicissitudes. Mexico and the majority of Latin American nations have been commemorating in recent years the bicentennial of their independence. There have been many religious celebrations and thanksgiving to God for the important and significant moment. During these celebrations, as in the Mass in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome on the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, Most Holy Mary was invoked fervently. She who gently showed how the Lord loves all people and gave himself for them without distinction. Our Heavenly Mother has kept vigil over the faith of her children in the formation of these nations, and she continues to do so today as new challenges present themselves. I come as a pilgrim of faith, of hope, and of love. I wish to confirm those who believe in Christ in their faith by strengthening and encouraging them to revitalize their faith by listening to the Word of God, celebrating the sacraments, and living coherently. In this way, they will be able to share their faith with others as missionaries to their brothers and sisters, and to act as a leaven in society, contributing to a respectful and peaceful coexistence based on the incomparable dignity of every human being created by God, which no one has the right to forget or disregard. This dignity is expressed especially in the fundamental right to freedom of religion, in its full meaning and integrity. As a pilgrim of hope, I speak to them in the words of St. Paul. But we would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning those who are asleep, that you may not grieve as others who do not have hope. Confidence in God offers the certainty of meeting Him, of receiving His grace. The believer's hope is based on this, and aware of this, we strive to transform the present structures and events which are less than satisfactory and seem immovable or insurmountable, while also helping those who do not see meaning or a future in life. Yes, hope changes the practical existence of each man and woman in a real way. Hope points to a new heaven and a new earth that is already making visible some of its reflections. Moreover, when it takes root in a people, when it is shared, it shines as a light that dispels the darkness which blinds and takes hold of us. This country and the entire continent are called to live their hope in God as a profound conviction, transforming it into an attitude of the heart and a practical commitment to walk together in the building of a better world. As I said in Rome, continue progressing untiringly in the building of a society founded upon the development of good, the triumph of love, and the spread of justice. Together with faith and hope The believer in Christ, indeed the whole Church, lives and practices charity as an essential element of mission. In its primary meaning, charity is first of all the simple response to immediate needs and specific situations. As we help those who suffer from hunger, lack shelter, or are in need in some way in their life. Nobody is excluded on account of their origin or belief from this mission of the Church, which does not compete with other private or public initiatives. In fact, the Church willingly works with those who pursue the same ends, nor does she have any other aim other than doing good in an unselfish and respectful way to those in need, who often lack signs of authentic love. Mr. President, my dear friends, in these days I will pray to the Lord and to Our Lady of Guadalupe for all of you, so that you may be true to the faith which you have received and to its best traditions. I will pray especially for those in need, particularly for those who suffer because of old and new rivalries, resentments, and all forms of violence. I know that I am in a country which is proud of its hospitality and wishes no one to feel unwelcome. I already knew this, and now I can see it and feel it in my heart. I sincerely hope that many Mexicans who live far from their homeland will feel the same way and that nothing. The Holy Father is interrupted by chants.
Espero con toda mi alma. Espero con toda mi alma.
I hope with all my heart that Mexicans who live far from their homeland will feel the same way, and that nothing will cause them to forget it or to lose the wish to see it grow in harmony and in an authentic, integral development. Thank you. The chant we're hearing now, you may remember if you were watching our World Youth Day coverage. Esta es la juventud del Papa, which means we are the youth of the Pope.
El ciudadano presidente de los Estados Unidos mexicanos hará la presentación de su comitiva oficial a su santidad.
President Felipe Calderon will now introduce to the Holy Father members of government, members of parliament who are here at the airport in Guanajuato to welcome Pope Benedict. Traditionally, upon arrival in a nation, the president or the leader of the nation gives a welcoming address to the Pope, and the Pope gives a return address, and we will see the president introduce the members of his government to the Holy Father, and then the Holy Father will introduce the members of the entourage, the papal entourage, introduce those members to the president. So we're seeing now members of the Mexican government meeting Pope Benedict, and we'll soon see the cardinals and bishops who traveled with Pope Benedict be introduced to Felipe Calderon and his wife, Margarita Zavala, whom we see here on the Diaz in pink. Pope Benedict, in his address, in his opening address, naming, specifically saying that as Christians we believe in hope, and hope is what moves us to change those structures that are unjust, to change those structures that cause inequality, and create a new heaven and a new earth. Borrowing the words of his venerable predecessor, Blessed John Paul II, who recited those same words, creating a new heaven and a new earth, when he visited his homeland of Poland on his first papal voyage. So Pope Benedict, with some strong words of encouragement to the Mexican nation to look clearly and carefully at those things that are at play in society and in the nation that cause inequality and perpetuate poverty. You're seeing now the Vatican Delegation being introduced to Felipe Calderon. We just saw Cardinal Tarcisio Bertone. I believe we may have just seen Cardinal Marco Ele, who is on the Pontifical Commission for Latin America. He would be on this voyage as well. Mexican prelates who work at the Vatican would also be included in this delegation. We know that Cardinal Javier Lozano Barragan is in this entourage and has just passed through. Cardinal Barragan was for many years the prefect of the Pontifical Council for the Pastoral Care of Healthcare Workers, and still resides in Rome, but is part of this delegation. The Pope now introducing to the President various bishops, archbishops, and monsignors who are part of the delegation, including the Masters of Liturgy, who we will see featured quite prominently during this papal voyage. Now the local prelates, Mexican prelates, will greet the Holy Father. The Archbishop of León, José Guadalupe Martín Rabago, introducing the other members of the Curia. We saw Cardinal Norberto Rivera Carrera. We are seeing now what looks like Cardinal Francisco Ortega of Monterrey greeting the Holy Father. The Holy Father seems to be having a real conversation with one of the Mexican cardinals. And of course, at the same time, Felipe Calderon, the President of Mexico, takes his turn to greet the Mexican bishops, who have all come to this airport to greet the Holy Father. This is quite a monumental event. As mentioned, Pope Benedict was in Mexico previously when he was still Cardinal Ratzinger, working at the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. But this is his first voyage as Pope. We have on the line now, from Guanajuato, Francis Roca of Catholic News Service, the Catholic News Service Rome Bureau. Hello, Francis.
Hello?
Hello, Francis, can you hear me?
Yes, not sure well, but...
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, first of all, we're going to keep it short because you had a long flight. But can you tell us a little bit about the talk that Pope Benedict had with the journalists on board the papal plane?
Yes, that's well. Took 5 questions, and it's not, as I three of them were especially topical. One of them had to do with Cuba, and he essentially said that the church is certainly on the side of freedom of conscience and religious freedom, but that the offers of dialogue, of engagement with the government, the communist government that John Paul started in '98 is one that requires patience. So he seemed to be signaling to some of the opposition and like that, because we've been stuck in there that it can't make it change.
Okay. Francis, we seem to be having some trouble hearing you. We're having problems with the connection. So we're going to try again later. We're going to try to fix those problems.
Sure, we are in the box with Wi-Fi. You could try Skype.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. That was Francis Roca of Catholic News Service's Rome Bureau. We're having some problems connecting with him, so we're going to try and rectify those problems and reconnect with him a little bit later. But he mentioned that the Pope Benedict answered 5 pre-selected questions on board the flight. Several of them related to Cuba, and what stood out when it came to Cuba, he was asked about democratization in Cuba, and the Holy Father's answer was essentially that it will require patience. And we are seeing traditional Mexican dancers performing for Pope Benedict. Let's join in. And those were traditional Mexican dancers performing a traditional folkloric dance for the Holy Father.
Su amable asistencia. Muchas gracias.
And the announcer thanking everyone for attending this welcome ceremony and thanking the dancers, signaling the close of the formal welcome ceremony, but we do hear a mariachi band playing for the Holy Father and for the people in the background.
Si alguno la mancilla le parto el corazón. Venga todos. Viva México, viva, viva América, viva, oh suelo bendito de Dios. Viva México, viva, viva América, viva, mi sangre por ti daré yo.
Y nunca me he dejado, si quieren informarse, la historia les dio. Que México es valiente y nunca se ha rajado, viva la democracia, también la libertad. Viva México, viva, viva América, viva, oh suelo bendito de Dios.
Pope Benedict is making his way away from the tarmac where we just saw the welcome ceremony, accompanied by choruses of Viva Mexico being sung by the mariachi band. And along his path as he makes his way to his coach, rows of children waiting to greet him, waiting for just a quick blessing by the Holy Father. Many of these children are in a traditional costume, traditional Mexican dress, showing off the color of Mexican traditions for the Holy Father, who has long desired to come to Mexico as Pope. He has been here as Cardinal Ratzinger, but never as Pope on an official apostolic voyage. And despite the 14-hour flight from Rome to this Mexican city of Guanajuato, Pope Benedict looks absolutely overjoyed. He looks radiant, a little bit tired, but happy, quite happy, perhaps being buoyed by the joy and the warmth of the welcome in Guanajuato. Oh, the Holy Father accepting what seemed to be a hand-drawn picture made by a young man, made by a boy who spontaneously embraced him. This section seems to include some children who have disabilities of some sort. Pope Benedict has a special affinity, a special place in his heart for young children with different afflictions. And of course, for all youth, as he takes his time greeting each child personally. Pope Benedict spontaneously embracing these young children who just so openly show their affection for him. This young girl, the young girl that he just embraced, may have, I believe, would have been a blind child. And this would have been her way of seeing the Holy Father. President Calderon, in his welcoming address to the Holy Father, referring several times to the desire on the part of the Mexican people to create the conditions in their country that allow them to create a better future for their children. And these are the children that Pope Benedict is greeting now. These are the children for whom President Calderon expressed the desire to create the conditions of stable development. So we're really seeing the words of greeting, the words that were spoken during the welcoming address, being put into action with the Holy Father greeting the children of Mexico and being carried along by the lively mariachi music.
No vale nada la vida no vale nada.
It is about 5:15 in the afternoon in Mexico, as we can see by the afternoon sunlight, and it was 32 degrees today in the CELAM area where the airport is located, so it's rather warm, but that doesn't seem to be affecting the Holy Father. It is a dry warmth, as I mentioned. Guanajuato is about 2,000 meters above sea level. It is in the center of the country, and it is considered to be the geographic center of Mexico. Pope Benedict seems to be quite happily taking his time to greet these children. Margarita Zavala, the wife of President Felipe Calderon, commenting to Monsignor Georg Gansein about the joy that these children seem to be expressing and the Pope's own joy at meeting these children. He doesn't seem to want to cut this short at all. Greeting not only the children, but some of the caregivers and companions that are with them, carried along by this mariachi music. Mexico is truly rejoicing. welcoming the Holy Father with a true Mexican fiesta. And Pope Benedict seems to be thoroughly enjoying it. Now it looks as though the Pope's security detail wants to hurry him along for fear of the heat and the fact that there is still a little bit of a drive ahead of them to get to León, where the Holy Father will be staying. But no such luck. The Holy Father continues greeting the children who are gathered here. And their caregivers. Again, the Guanajuato region where Pope Benedict is at this very moment is an area that is 94% Catholic. So this is a moment of joy for the people of Guanajuato. The Holy Father is with them once again. Of course, Pope John Paul II visited Mexico 5 times, and many Mexicans considered him Mexican at heart. Pope Benedict saying that he has harbored this desire to visit Mexico for quite some time. Finally, his wish has been realized. And Pope Benedict and the President of Mexico are escorted into what appears to be a hangar, or a temporary shelter of some sort. The party seems to be continuing. The party shows no signs of stopping on the tarmac at Guanajuato Airport, although Pope Benedict will now be taken to his car and be transferred to León, where he will be staying at the Colegio Miraflores. Normally, Pope Benedict would stay at the Apostolic Nunciatura, but in this case, that is located in Mexico City, and Pope Benedict will not be going there. So instead, he is staying at the Colegio Miraflores. It is a college, a residence and retreat center run by sisters, run by nuns, Mexican nuns. And we know that his lodgings there will be simple, fitting for the Pope. The Popemobile is getting ready. We see the Popemobile making its way, taking its place on the tarmac to pick up Pope Benedict to take him to his residence. The Popemobile actually arrived in Mexico several days ago. It always arrives several days in advance so that it can be ready for the Pope when he arrives. And more mariachi music. Members of the band we see taking photos of themselves with their cell phones. This is truly a historic moment and a joyful moment for the people of Guanajuato and all the people of Mexico. And that concludes our coverage of this Mexican fiesta at the Guanajuato Airport for Pope Benedict's arrival. But that doesn't conclude the voyage. We will be covering this trip for you through Mexico and into Cuba. For full broadcast schedule, visit our website, saltandlighttv.org. And join us again tomorrow when Pope Benedict meets with President Felipe Calderon and greets the youth of Mexico. For everyone here at Salt and Light, thank you for watching. I'm Alicia Ambrosio.